U.S. Federal Supreme Court has refused to set aside a 2019 ruling against Olympic gold medalist Caster Semenya by the Court of Arbitration for Sport. This means that Semenya will not even be allowed to defend her Olympic title. We've been able to get onto the phone to her lawyer, Greg Knott, her longtime lawyer, who certainly will be able to give us far better insight. Greg, thank you so much for making such quick time for us here on Newzroom Afrika. Let's firstly start with the decision, confirming it. Of course, this is a massive blow, I have no doubt, for Team Caster Semenya.
Good evening, Mark, and it's a pleasure being part of your program, and I must thank you and your listeners for the support that you've given Caster over a long time, decade age fight. So thank you very much, Mark. Thank you for having me on the program. Yes, regrettably, we lost today. The judgment was handed down by the Swiss Federal Court, and we received notice through our attorneys in Switzerland. As you know, we have a legal team that embraces a number of jurisdictions across the world. We had two Canadian lawyers in Switzerland and in South Africa, the team. And as you know, Caster's fight is against world athletic regulations that ban Caster and other women with similar genetics from international competitions unless they're medically changed their natural bodies. And of course, as we all know, Caster, that's not something we should easily give in to. I managed to speak to Caster today with the handing down of the regulation, of the finding, I should say. And I'm pleased to report back to you and your listeners that Caster remains indomitable. Her spirit was high. She anticipated the loss. She didn't expect to win. She feels that there is a system out there which won't recognize her or her cause. And regrettably, I'm in agreement with Caster in that level. You know, we are at a moment in our society and a political time where we see systematic racism, which has been a long-term feature of South African society, and which has seen this recently intensified across North America and Europe. And that just thinking about it, that a Swiss court decision rendered by 5 white judges in a French language can determine Caster's livelihood and the livelihoods of other black women from Global South illustrates the systemic racial discrimination in international sports governance systems. So that's one issue. We have strategically looked at the possibility of where we take the case, if at all, and where the case Caster fights on, and there are a couple of forums that we can look at, one of them being the European Court of Human Rights, the other one's a review of the CAS proceedings, then there are domestic proceedings before human rights tribunals in jurisdictions which are affected and located, particularly like in South Africa, and then the domestic legal proceedings, including injunctive relief in jurisdictions where the World Athletics events are being held. So strategically, we have a number of strategies alive and legal thoughts that we will bounce around as a team. Once we've considered the judgment in full, we'll appreciate we only got the judgment today. And we have a team, as I say, that spans the world. We will bring in both our scientific, our medical, and our legal experts to peruse the judgment and in time come up with what is the solution going forward. Having said that, at the cusp of everything, Mark, is Caster, of course, and she will direct us as she directs everything. And it's her strength and her will that we abide by and listen to, and her mandate. So, and I must say, you know, it just heartens me speaking to her today and listening to her strength. We've always drawn from her strength, not the other way around. She's always given us the strength and positivity that we could represent her.
Greg, I want to go back to Caster Semenya's mental state in just a moment, if you don't mind, but let's just focus on her on-the-track abilities first, if that's all right. We as South Africans are desperate to see Caster Semenya compete once again. She is our golden girl. She is our Olympic champion. There was so much talk around this appeal and so much talk around her potentially running different distances. Please just clarify for those that don't quite know, what opportunities does she have if she chooses to change her distance? Would she still be allowed to run? Could we ever see Caster Semenya back on the track if and when these appeals remain the way they are?
Yes. In terms of distance, between 400 and 1,500 meters, she could, if she took hormonal or other surgical relief, but that she won't obviously do. So those races we would have to scratch from the pad. Having said that, there are races below 400, as you know. There are races above 1,500 meters. But I'm not the one to disclose how and where and what the strategy of Custer will do and how she will prepare for training. All I can do and what I can say, however, to the public is that in speaking to Custer is that she doesn't see this as the final nor the end of the road. A lovely quote I take from Custer today, Mark, was that she sees the door closed but not locked. And I thought that was terrific. So, yes, they may close a couple of doors, but they haven't locked her out. And she refuses to be locked out. So to the public who treats her as the icon that she is, I say, well, stay strong in your support. We'll see her run again.
Icon is the perfect word to describe her, Greg. This is a woman who basically for the last 10 years has been fighting tooth and nail just to prove her worth, to prove that she deserves to be on that track, and to prove that she is better than anyone that has ever come up alongside her. I imagine how difficult that must be mentally and emotionally to hear her still being so upbeat, to hear her still being so positive. That must just further reiterate the mental and psychological strength that Custer herself has.
It really does. It just shows a true professional. So she focuses. This was the fight, so she focused. But don't forget, during the fight and waiting for this appeal, which took nearly a year to come out, she also had run races prior between Kaz's finding and the lodging of the appeal. There was a space of time where she was entitled to run, and she won, and she ran well. If you remember the West Coast of the States, and she won that race particularly well, which was unbelievable. She had an incident in Morocco which tried to throw her off beat. I mean, the phenomenal challenges Custer has gone through are quite extraordinary. Yet she goes on and she goes on and she goes on. She takes her studies. She learns. She works. She's really iconic, and she's an example for young people worldwide. And I cannot say enough about her as a client, as a friend, as a person in my life. I think, quite frankly, one can draw so much from her.
Greg, speaking about Custer Semenya's bravery and her strength on and off the track, I have no doubt that her mere response to these kind of scenarios will just further improve and strengthen the belief that she is the champion that we all see her to be. We speak about the changing of distances to get her onto the track. We hope that in any shape or form that we can indeed see Custer Semenya make her return. In your opinion, Greg, if Custer Semenya was a European athlete, do you think she would have received the same treatment?
No, I don't. Frankly, I don't. I'm really of that view. I think there's a bigger issue here, Mark. And that issue goes to South and North, rich, poor, black and white. That's my feeling. I've always held it. I always believe in it. So does Custer. And I just think, no, we wouldn't have got the same treatment. And that's why this fight is important. That's why this fight has been important. What Custer chooses to do now will be her business. But so far she's carried the flag with such pride and with such dignity. So, no, my answer to you is explicitly no. Others may gainsay me. Too bad. That's what I feel.
Before we let you go, when could we expect any form of further updates? I'm not too sure to what path that may suggest, but I'm sure that, Custer herself will want to try and, observe and take in all this information. You as her team would like to have some time to work on this, I have no doubt. Is there any indication as to when the next step will be taken for Team Custer Semenya?
Yeah, we'll talk probably about months, Mark. That's really the issue. She's training. We have to file any other filing for a larger forum, probably 3 months, I think it is. I haven't really looked at the time. But that would be the next step. But as I say, it may be her, it may be the association that takes it forward for her. She'll determine that in the next while. I think her focus really will be to get back on the track and see where her fight can take her there. I think she's done quite a bit in terms of legal nuances herself.